My name's Jackie Lynch and I am a menopause nutritionist. I work in a clinical setting supporting women who are looking for a diet and lifestyle approach to managing their menopause.
My name's Dr. Megha Devale. I'm a GP. I teach medical students women's health. I also run Dr. Devale Talks, which are a set of women's health issues.
My name is Katie Taylor and I'm the founder and CEO of the Latte Lounge, which is a midlife and menopause online community.
My name is Louise Pittman. I'm a yoga teacher and I teach women, mostly women who are navigating menopause, yoga to help support their changing bodies and for future-proofing their lives. Well, yes, I, like most women who are probably around my age, didn't really completely understand what was happening at the time. I think, women now have a better idea because there's more discussion about menopause, but I knew that I was around the age when it perhaps would be, but I wasn't quite sure what it was.
The peri-menopause took me a little bit by surprise. Now, as a menopause nutritionist, that might seem a bit strange, but this was while I wasn't specialising in that area. And it started a lot earlier than I expected, and that's what happens for a lot of women. For me, the initial signs that things weren't quite right were that my periods got heavier, and I wasn't expecting that because what little I knew about menopause was that they got lighter and further apart, not heavier and closer together. So that was a bit of a surprise.
So from a personal journey, I've had a really pleasant experience. I'm still perimenopausal, and I think one of the reasons why it's been quite a nice journey is because I'm a doctor, so I know what to expect and I know how to manage my symptoms. I think from a professional experience, completely different, and I think it's quite saddening to see lots of women are struggling with their symptoms, struggling on how to access help or knowing what their options are. Even from a medical perspective, lots of women feel sometimes unheard by their doctor. I'll have women coming up to me saying that they feel they've been fobbed off, which it's really, really quite saddening to hear.
Back in 2012, when I was 43 years old, I was a very busy mum, juggling 4 kids and working and getting them all off to school and running a home. And I noticed over that 4-year period that I was struggling with a whole host of seemingly unrelated symptoms. And that ranged everywhere from brain fog to very low mood to heart palpitations, anxiety, aching joints, and I was surviving on 3 hours sleep a night and dragging myself into work, and I was absolutely exhausted.
So whilst the menopause is a natural transition, there's lots of hormonal changes going on, and I think if women aren't aware of what to expect, the symptoms and the resulting changes can leave them feeling quite confused and quite scared and quite overwhelmed.
First kind of thing I really noticed was this kind of fiery temper, this rage that came. I'm quite, a calm person and known for my my balanced outlook and my supporting of people. But I started to get really angry really quickly, and I just couldn't quite put my finger on why that could be. So that was probably my first symptom.
The strangest symptom for me was that I would vomit for 2 hours on the first day of my period, something that my doctor hadn't come across before. And it was really unpleasant, and it did mean that I was very fortunate to be working at home, because if I'd been in an office situation, I think that would have been incredibly stressful. And I really sympathise with women who are struggling with those kinds of issues, or the flooding and that sense of being observed by everyone in the office. So for me, it was the period side of things that was the most difficult.
I was scared I was getting early onset dementia. That was the worst thing, because when you start forgetting things or you can't think straight, it felt like an out-of-body experience, like I was sort of in the world living, but I wasn't connected with it. It was a real disconnect. So you're kind of walking around doing your day-to-day thing, but it's like you're sort of floating in a dream and you're not connected with the world around you, to a point where, you know, my kids and my husband would be watching something funny and they'd be laughing hysterically. And I knew the old me would find it hilarious. And I thought, why am I not laugh? Why is it not triggering that natural laughter? It was just a really isolating time.
Right, so the beauty is, as a GP, is I see everything. And there have been some reoccurring themes, but they really have varied. So it may be that women have classic menopausal symptoms, but they feel dismissed, either that they feel that they weren't taken seriously, or they were told it's just menopause, it's a normal stage, kind of get on with it. It may be a group of women who have more unusual symptoms, and we know that there's 48 symptoms of menopause. Most of us know about the hot flushes and the changes to our periods, but there are more unusual other symptoms that women will have and may or may not recognise as part of kind of the menopause picture. And again, when they've seen a healthcare professional, they've kind of come away feeling quite dismissed.
Another symptom I had was it was a sort of feeling of impending doom, like something bad was going to happen, to a point where I actually wrote a letter to all of my children. I mean, which is just, when I think about it, it's absolutely bizarre. And thankfully, I've ripped those up and thrown them away. But I get quite emotional now. At the time, it was really frightening. And I used to lie. The worst thing was when the lights went off. I used to lie at night with my heart pounding, thinking something terrible was going to happen. Sorry, I get emotional.
The area of female health is developing enormously in terms of research. For a long time, it was heavily neglected. So for me, it was a little bit about joining the dots and thinking, well, I know already that X or Y nutrient can really help with hormone balance or liver detoxification, because that's important for metabolizing estrogen, for example. And therefore I could join the dots and think, okay, well, this is what I'll do. And then as time went on, I was coming across more papers where certain research had taken place.
Whilst the destination for all of us is the same, we all will have unique journeys, so no two experiences will be the same. So for those who are suffering, there's lots of things you can try. I really would encourage women to look at their diet and their lifestyle. And you don't necessarily have to be perimenopausal or menopausal. I think this applies to everyone, men and women. But try and look at your diet, try and keep it as healthy as possible, as fresh as possible. For women who are suffering, there's lots that your doctor can do. There's lots of treatment options. And not all of them are hormonal, because I know some women get quite concerned about taking hormones. So I think have a conversation with your doctor.
The only thing that helped for me personally was a hormone replacement therapy. And I have to say, within 2 weeks, I felt like a new woman. It was like rewinding the clock 30 years. And once I understood why, because we have estrogen receptors all over our body, and it was like a dried up sponge, and suddenly it was replacing the estrogen I'd lost. And I was sleeping amazing, like better sleep than I'd had in years. I had the energy of a 25-year-old. The brain fog completely cleared, and I just went back to my old self. And so with that, then I could exercise like I used to.
I'd already been practicing yoga for, about 12 or so years by the time I went into perimenopause, and I realised what a great thing it was, because the slowing of the breathing really helped to calm any issues around hot flushes. The strength that I was building up using the body weight for the various poses made sure I didn't lose the muscle mass. It was really great for calming my nervous system, which meant that in turn I wasn't in overdrive, so my menopause symptoms were better. And I found that if I took the trouble to go outside, go for walks every day, just getting that regular movement did make a big difference.
Yoga has been really a big part of my journey. It began as I've had a relationship with yoga where it's coming, I started it at a time in my life when I was preparing for I was doing the Inca Trail, and I really didn't want to get altitude sickness. So I thought, well, if I start going to yoga and learn how to breathe properly, I won't get it. I mean, I didn't get it, and I don't know. I don't know. I think it's more it's less discriminatory than that. You get it or you don't. But I didn't, and so I'd go to yoga, and then I'd stop, and then I'd go to yoga, and then my mum passed away, and I had this real period of fatigue and grief, and the thing that really helped bring me through that was yoga. And so much so that that's when I decided to be a yoga teacher. So for me, yoga is really supportive of symptoms. I teach a class that's called Yoga Tools for Menopause, and we target a different symptom each week in the practice. But just things like, as a midlife woman, you become concerned with bone density. And the biggest thing with that is if you do develop osteoporosis, that you don't want to be falling over. So yoga is a great kind of risk management tool as far as I'm concerned, because the better you can balance, or the more mobile you are, or the more flexible you are, then the less likely you are to fracture.
How long have you got?
I didn't want to complain because I didn't want my friends to think, I don't know what she's complaining about, her life is great.
I knew a certainty when the day would be that my menopause would happen.
One of them said to me not so long ago that she doesn't have these type of conversations with her other girlfriends.
The advice I would give to women going through the menopause,
If it was one piece of advice,